Good morning, good morning, YouTube viewers. Good morning, Facebook Nation. Good morning to all people, all races, all colors, all around the world. Men, women, children, to everyone. Have the most beautiful day that you could possibly have. Today is kind of rainy, or we got a storm, so, you're thinking about the people along the coastline that have been affected by this. Um, Before we start, click like, subscribe, share. A lot of different topics on the playlist talking about different things that we go through in life and just another way of looking at things. So, speaking of looking at things, today's title is you're in for a surprise, because the title says it clearly. Could you be a sadist? And when most people hear that word, they think, oh, I don't know, I don't practice the occult. I don't, I'm not into, all this kind of evil stuff. But that's not what a sadist is. And so understanding what things are and what things actually mean, it benefits us in so many different ways. And this word alone, we all share it to a certain extent. So nobody is immune from this word. So the surprise is, if we think that we can be a sadist, you are a sadist. Most of us are. But it's to what extent. So today I'm gonna show you, take you through another way of looking at things. And the way this came about is, it had to do with COVID. And COVID has been around for, a minute now. COVID is also, condolences taking the lives of 8.3 million people worldwide. So the reason why, this topic means what it says is, could you be a sadist, is based on, that interaction, conversation that I was having. And the person, we were talking about, how, things are declining and, everything's getting back to normal. And, instead of wondering where the virus came from, we should be looking at, the fact that why are they, doing these things, and why, why is it so widespread in populated areas where these things are taking place. So if something in the future like this does happen again, it has to travel miles before it even, begins to hit a person or to affect people. So it gives us time to do something about it. And the person's comment was, well, those Chinese, they did it. They brought it to us. They're the ones who started this stuff. And the way that came out, if you hear in the person, this is a soccer mom. This is, somebody who, is probably respected in her community, as well as, is carrying herself in a respectable way. You would think in no way, shape, or form could that be a sadist statement. But yes, indeed, it is a sadist statement. And I want to show you why. It's because instead of, following the mainstream of who got you to think this way, instead of looking at what this big picture really means and what do we do to prevent it, that's what growth is. Hey, this happened, we can't blame the people, it's here, let's do something about it. That's why the decline is happening, worldwide, is because we're all doing something about it together. But now let's look on, what that word sadist means. Sadist doesn't mean that you actually have to go out and do something that's evil, or say something. Well, yeah, say something. You can say something that's evil, even though you feel that you're saying it in a nonchalant way. But the effects of what that word and what that statement carries is, it can have a negative effect. It can have a positive effect. So, in this sense, it was like, what ran through my mind is, now let's take up aliens from another planet. Now you have a line of aliens lined up, and there's a shooting squad, and they're going to shoot all these of us. So, they only get what they deserve. And that's the reality of the world that we live in. So we, in a sense, we condone sadism. So now, how can we say that, I can make that statement? But let me show you how this is done. All right. Now I want to give you some numbers. We said 8.3 million. Now let's talk about the millions and millions of people year after year after year. These things are happening too, and we're all being affected by it. But we don't take that same stance as that woman to say, hey, let's do something. This is where it started, so let's deal here. So now we know where these things start, but yet and still year after year after year we do nothing about them, and they're the most evil things. So let me run some numbers at you that none of us can hide from. All right. So, what is this? 2019. We talk about cancer. 2.9 million people a year are diagnosed with cancer. Approximately 1.76 million deaths per year while poisoning your children. So we're talking about 1.7 million deaths per year. Where's the outcry? That's a pandemic. People are dying. Oh, well, we have to look at that as choice. Okay, so you say that choice is an opinion. The statement itself is sadistic, because it's the same thing. Take either situation from COVID and making that comment where, the world is doing something about it, to where within our own reality these things are happening. But yet still we say, well, that's just a choice. Again, who's programming your subconscious for you to think in this manner where, one way is the right way? one way is the way things should be done. Yet and still we block ourselves. So this is the same thing. A sadist is somebody who doesn't mind, bad things happening, as long as they don't, they can be involved, or they can sit back and they can watch, or they can ignore, but the fact is still there. So let's get away from the cigarettes and what they do. Let's go to pharmacy. Let's go to the legalized drug dealers who wear suits. Synthetic drug dealers, I should say, synthetic. But it's the same drug, same effect, same results in death. So 500,000 deaths in a year is a direct link to pharmaceutical companies. So we are not talking about street drugs like heroin, cocaine, marijuana. We're talking about what comes across that pharmacy table. So opioids with 30% resulting in overdose, other complications, the rest are sadly on their way. Still, we purchase and trust, believe in legalized synthetic drug dealers and suits. So we're only talking about the opioids that they kill people with, but there's also Oxycontin, and now they have just, before they had said that ecstasy was a drug, got to stop it. Now they are incorporating ecstasy into a new pill that they're coming out with, medication for PTSD. You see how it works? Capitalism at its best, but yet still, is anyone saying anything? People are dying, people are losing their homes, and these people just went into a hospital because they had a pain in their side, or they had, something where they needed an operation, walked out and became junkies. Families, everything destroyed, and that has no color barrier. And again, cancer, no color barrier. So I'm naming you things that affect millions and millions of people every year, and the numbers keep rising. Okay, let's move away from pharmaceuticals. Let's go to starvation, because that's the biggest one and the most preventable one. 1.1, no, not 155 million around the world are dying, not from a gunshot, but from bread, milk, and a sandwich, a box, a hut, or a tent. Anything for a decent night's sleep and a meal for that day. 155 million a day die from hunger. Every minute, 11 people will lose their lives. That's while we're talking, each minute, 11 minutes, all right? So now, sadly, this includes infants and children also. No one is immune from this preventable cancer. How soon do we forget that for every one bite that we take, 20 people ain't gonna eat anything at all in that day. That's just for one bite. So, we can close ourselves and stay inside these bubbles, because these bubbles, again, are all kept tight and held together by sadism. And sadism is what permeates, where we entrap ourselves into a bubble where we can act on one thing, but there's something that's just as dangerous, and we just say like this. So this is what we do today. We're learning the reality behind these, different statements that we experience when we're dealing with people, because, most conversations these days, people are running on scripts, and it's like when you sit back and really listen, it's like, whoa. But then you can get bought into a script, and that's what was happening, where it was up to me to take on that persona to say, well, yeah, I'm gonna hate, Asian people because of something that happened. No, it's just to me, it does, people are people. What one group did, the others are not responsible. That's the way it should be. But then again, no matter where we look in the world, it's the same program being played out everywhere. So let's get away from starvation. Let's go to an article that was posted, and this has to do with religious institutions. And this is just, an individual country, which are an individual country. They had did a research, they did a study through investigative work and everything else like that, and they posted this on justiceinfo.net. And this article is on researchers revealing patterns of sexual abuse in religious settings. Now, this comment right here should be alarming to us all, because this is the one comment that I took from this. If you get a chance to read it, it's a good read. I'm going to mention another one. Get a chance to read it, read it. The comment is, researchers reveal patterns of sexual abuse in religious settings. This also showed a consistent pattern of abusers taking advantage of positions of power. We're going to apply that to other places too, other areas. Trust and authority to groom children. I'm going to add this to this statement. Or have influence over adults while maintaining secrecy affecting millions each year. So what this article is saying, that no religion is immune. This is permeating through all, and it's a hunting ground for predators. Most people don't want to hear that. And again, these are realities to say, it's kind of like almost saying, okay, it's okay because people are being raped in that house, but since there's something spiritual in the house, I'm going to go in that house and I'm going to pray inside that house and we're going to clean the house. No, the house is still dirty. But again, we will stand up for COVID. Hey, something's got to be done about this. But then when we see something like this, we turn a blind eye. That's sadism. I don't care how we cut it. It's sadism. So let's go let's go one step further, because this affects, in that area alone where religions are concerned, it's millions each year, millions children as well as adults who come to the realization of past. So this is affecting millions, what I mean, and it's not in a good way. So the damage is being done there, and these are people who are surviving. Some of these people probably would wish the opposite would have happened, that they didn't have to deal with it, but that's something that's not going to go away. So let's go one step further, because we're not going to bash one area. We're going through all areas and the numbers every year that these places that we respect, we entrust places of power, they deceive and they mislead and they mistreat. And they don't mind taking lives from other people or putting other people's lives in jeopardy, or or standing behind individuals that do things like that. That's sadism again. So now this is an article that was written in London. The one that I did before was Alberta, Canada, where that one, justice.info. It was a speech, or yeah, it was a speech conference that was given at University of Alberta in Canada. This one is from the Routers out of London, and I'm only going to give her last initial, but this was an article written by Lynn T. And this article is entitled "The Rise in Sexual Abuse Cases in Aid Groups as More Victims Speak Up." And when we're talking age groups, we're talking about people in Boy Scouts of America, Girl Scouts of America, YMCAs, and all these other non-charity, the Helping Hand and the Giving Hand and the Lending Hand, and all these other places. But there's three specific ones that they target, so this is what this article is based on. There's been a 13% increase on 2017, shows how abuse victims, meaning that the increase rose, it jumped in 2017, and it's continuously jumping. And because a lot of the numbers that they have, a lot of information that they have, those numbers are not easy to come by, because a lot of places, a lot of countries, a lot of states won't give up those statistics. And that's something, our reality about trying to get to what's true, is getting the statistics from other places. So, but we know that those numbers are rising, because you don't cover up what you don't need to hide. So out of 539 reported cases, 91 people were fired. Of the 22 leading global charities included the UN, Oxfam, and CARE. And think about that, the last one. The United Nations is supposed to help all. Number one, Oxfam sounds like it's the Oxford family, meaning that they represent children and families. And then CARE means that we care about all people all around the world. So we're just lending a helping hand, but yet still, everywhere you lend a helping hand, you got some bad apples that are with you, and it takes a lot in order for these apples to be exposed. So but we're not talking about the apples, because we know the bad apples exist everywhere, anywhere we go. What we're talking about to us as viewers is how we can take on a sadist mindset, that we can hear things that are so violent because of the effect of it, and we can say something and what we feel is a harmless way. So we need to wake up from this, and we need to be corrective in how we're dealing with people, because remember, at the end of the day, it's what you condone. If you condone a behavior, you become part of the behavior, and that's how sadism allows itself to manifest everywhere. But when you stand for yourself, which is this channel is all about, it changes the world around you. Like I said, you become light, because there's so much darkness, and there's so much darkness within people. And the sad reality is that those sometimes are people that we entrust, people that we put in places of power, people within our own families, people who are friends, people on the job, and it's people that, we feel we know, but, at the end of the day, unless you're reading the heart, because the heart explains the actions of a person, then you really don't know that person, because you can't rely on this anymore, because words are starting to be meaningless, but yet still words have value. So if you're holding people accountable for what comes out of their mouth, then you become accountable to what you condone in your own life, as well as the life around you. So I'm hoping that, everyone got a surprise out of that, because no one expected to hear a word like sadist, and that we could possibly be sadists. But yet, and still, the answer is, at the end of this, is still yes, because when we can overlook the abuses, the atrocities, and the crimes that are being portrayed by people of power, people in position, and we condone that on millions of people every year. But then when it comes to our front door, it's like, hey, we have to do something about it. Well, I want to leave you with this. Doing something about it now starts by standing up for what you believe in, and speaking out on what you're against in a non-confrontational way. And that's the same way that these things are being generated, these negative comments, that's the same way we're going to use those comments to towards others that, we might feel we may encounter. So we can't keep quiet anymore. Numbers don't lie. So with that, everyone, you know, have a beautiful day. I'm only looking because I had done some work. It actually came out pretty good. So everyone have a beautiful day. Be the best that you can be. And remember, no matter where you are, stand, because, nobody is going to stand for you. So we have to stand ourselves and keep each other standing by supporting one another. And with that, everyone have a beautiful day. Have the best day. And peace and blessings.